Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
So Caroline, Lino and I had a science segment recently where I thought we did okay talking about the James Webb Space Telescope, which we love. It's a project that we're all in love with, and we're excited to see what it will be doing for us and contributing to science.
It will be,
especially the beautiful images it's going to return. Yeah.
Oh yes,
so
and
cool,
has already
so
returned
cool.
some.
Yeah. So
Yes.
we're going to throw it to you, Caroline, to give us an update and to also answer some questions that Lino and I had about some of the things that we to do with the James Webb Space Telescope. So
Yeah.
Caroline, over to you.
All right. So yeah, I thought I'd do a James Webb Telescope update, but I will provide a little bit of background as well, just to refresh everybody's mind what the James Webb Space Telescope is all about. We remember it was launched on the 25th of December 2021 on a European Space Agency Ariane rocket from French Guinea. It reached a position called L2, or the Lagrange point 2, where the gravity of the sun and the earth cancel each other out. And so, it's not pulled one way or another. And, as we know, Hubble orbits the earth, but this one's been sent out into space. So we're getting views from space. So that's reached that point on January 24th, 2022. So it's still freshly there. The idea is that it is made up of a 6.5 meter diameter gold beryllium primary mirror, which is made up of 18 separate hexagonal mirrors. And its light collecting area is about 6.25 larger than Hubble's 4 meter squared collecting area. Having said that, I still love Hubble, okay? I
Yes.
first fell in love with
yeah.
Hubble.
There's always love for the original, don't worry.
That's right. But this is just, I guess, a little improvement. A lot of an improvement, actually. So the James Webb Space Telescope mirror faces out into space, and it itself is protected by a sun shield to protect it from the heat from the sun and light reflected from the earth and the moon. And also it needs to get down to a very cold negative 243 degrees Celsius, and that's to get the best imaging. I know people who have telescopes often, well, I do as well, when you first start to look at your images in the telescope, you take it outside, you let it cool down, because you want everything to be nice and still. You want to get some nice crisp images. So the colder the better. So yes, that's why we've got the heat shield on there, so everything works beautifully, and to protect from damage as well. So it's been designed for near-infrared astronomy, but we'll also be able to see orange and red visible light, and then in the mid-infrared region, it'll be able to detect objects 100 times fainter than Hubble, and so I guess earlier in time as well, which is crazy amazing. Now, the reason for the infrared imaging is that the very old and distant objects will emit in the infrared, and so their light can only really be observed by infrared astronomy. Also, cold objects and planets tend to emit light most strongly in the infrared. I think you wanted to know what redshift is.
Yes, please.
Okay, so redshift. Okay, so I'm going to read from the ESA, European Space Agency website. It's got a good little explanation here. It says that light behaves like a wave. So light from a luminous object undergoes a Doppler-like shift. So Doppler effect of hearing is like when you hear, say, like an ambulance, and it drives past you, and you hear it first, and then the sound kind of drains away. Okay, so so light behaves like a wave. So from a luminous object. So light from a luminous object undergoes a Doppler-like shift if the source is moving relative to us. Ever since 1929, when Edwin Hubble discovered that the universe is expanding, we have known that most other galaxies are moving away from us. Light from these galaxies is shifted longer, and this means redder wavelengths. In other words, it is redshifted. So yeah, kind of the last wavelengths you see are the red wavelengths. So that's that. So they've got a cute little analogy here. So a convenient analogy for the expansion of the universe is a loaf of unbaked raisin bread. The raisins are at rest relative to one another in the dough before it's placed in the oven. As the bread rises, it also expands, making space between the raisins increase. Yes.
Wow.
So there's a little bit about Redshift for you.
I'm going to listen to that again and again. That's good. No, thank you.
So the James Webb Telescope is also going to be able to, as well as very distant objects, is going to be able to observe nearby images as well, including planets and satellites, comets, and objects in our favorite Kuiper belt.
Yay.
It'll also be able to observe unplanned targets in a short amount of time, so like a supernova or a gamma ray burst. So if they want to go, oh, there's this happening, quick, point the telescope, they'll be able to do it.
Oh, cool.
So that will be really handy.
Supernova. Oh, wow.
Yes. So many. I think you need several telescopes, to be honest. I mean, this one was quite expensive, so maybe they won't do it again in a hurry. But if the more, the better, the merrier.
Cool.
So a little update. The Webb Space Telescope currently is undergoing a 6-month commissioning period. So the MIRI, or the mid-infrared instrument, is continuing to cool down. Currently, engineers have successfully aligned all but one of the instruments. So they first made course alignment corrections, and then usually they would move into the finer mirror corrections. However, the early course corrections were done so well that no additional adjustments will need to be made until the MIRI has fully cooled down. And this will be the final and 7th stage of the alignment. And I've got a little thing here from the NASA blogs. So throughout the majority of the alignment process, Webb's 18 hexagonal mirrors and secondary mirror were focused into alignment to the near-infrared camera, or NIRCam, instrument only. Upon completing this most recent step, the observatory is now aligned to the fine guidance sensor, the near-infrared slitless spectrograph, and the near-infrared spectrometer, as well as NIRCam. Once MIRI fully cools down to its cryogenic operating temperature in the weeks ahead, a second multi-instrument alignment will occur to make final adjustments to the instruments and mirrors if needed. When the telescope is fully aligned and able to deliver focused light to each instrument, a key decision meeting will occur to confirm the end of the aligning of the James Webb Telescope. The team will then transition from alignment efforts to commissioning each instrument for scientific operations, and that is expected to begin this summer, which is North American summer, because down here we are finishing our summer.
We're just finishing our autumn now. Yep.
Yeah, and they did take a first image, a nice crisp image of a star recently, and it was quite a nice image, and they put a kind of a red filter on it, and behind the star you can see many galaxies, which is
so good.
Amazing. And
wow.
I read in an article that they accidentally took a picture of 2 black holes as well.
Wow.
So they captured all that in this image, which is amazing.
That's
so
so good.
already it's just started and it's already blowing everybody's socks off. So it's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So you guys also wanted to know, who is James Webb?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
So James Webb was the NASA administrator appointed between 1961 and 1968, and he was responsible for overseeing the NASA Apollo program. So he kind of got the position, and Kennedy's like, hey, I want to go to the moon, and now he's got to make it happen. Okay.
Yes, and then they do it, and then Kennedy goes, how much? What?
Yeah.
This
and
expensive.
it's like, we kind of have to just go ahead now because
that much?
I've announced it. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it says here, NASA Administrator Sean O'Keefe announced the name of the telescope, saying it's fitting that Hubble's successor be named in honor of James Webb. Thanks to his efforts, we got our first glimpses at the dramatic landscape of outer space.
Wow.
He took our nation on its first voyages of exploration, turning our imagination into reality. So, he's well deserving of, to be named after this telescope.
Yeah, I
so
like
there you
that NASA history is carried forward, or space exploration history is carried forward in the naming of things. And then, like Lino and I had no idea who James Webb was, but, and we were asking that question, Lino, when we did the science segment on this a little while back. No, it's good to know. Thanks for that one, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
So
Thank
exciting.
you.
I can't wait to see more images now, and I'm sure it won't be too far off now. So
I'm sure 12 months from now we'll be just excited by all the different images that have
goodness.
You can quote me back that in 12 months.
Stay tuned, because we'll most likely in a few months' time be starting to report on what we're seeing in the telescope, from the telescope.
That's right. That's right.
Brilliant. All right. Did you have any other? I think that was it, wasn't it, Caroline? Science-wise?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Sounds good. All right. Lino and I took notes, and we know there's a test on it later. Lino, you ready to go?
Sort of. Look, I just love the idea, and this James Webb Telescope, Caroline, is absolutely stunning. It's an awesome thing. It's amazing. It's like a tiny little thing in the universe. Of course, it's tiny, but it's so powerful, and it just shows how technology has evolved. You look at our phones. Well, not this one particularly. This is big ass. You know what I mean? The technology has gone. They make it smaller and it's more powerful.
Yes.
And this James Webb Telescope, I can't wait either.
That's it. And I know it took a very long time for this telescope to be made, and it went insanely over budget. However, the result, because they planned so well, they didn't have to do so many corrections, and they didn't have to I heard, I was watching a YouTube video, and they were saying, just if something goes wrong, we'll just kind of rattle it in space. Hopefully things just
like an old car.
Or they have the ability to spin the telescope around if something's so it's not like Hubble where they can send up a couple of astronauts up to go and repair it. They had to really plan to make sure that this thing is going to work. And I know that, the unfurling of the mirrors was, such a nervous time, but it really performed really well. They really spent a long time.
That was a mechanical feat, though, to do that, to unfold it and set up the sail and everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And for it to be working the way it is now, it's just a real testament to those amazingly intelligent people at NASA who surprise us all the time with their accomplishments. And I just cannot wait to see more, to be honest.
I just love the idea. Sorry, I just thought of this, but you know how there's how there were those pinball games on computers where you press spacebar to shake the machine. I just imagine a NASA engineer when it's telescope, you're just tapping spacebar until But then if you tapped it too many times, the machine, like the pinball machine, would stop. And so don't tap it too many times, NASA.
Then you will have to send up something to kind of nudge it.
Give it a bump. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that, Caroline. I just love this particular telescope. I remember watching it launch on Christmas night. I just can't. I've got no words to describe just how, like Lino was saying before, how amazing this project is.
This project,
it is.
It's so cool. Yep.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest.